Good evening and welcome to the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station. I'm your host, Roman, and we have a terrific show planned for you today. First, the forecast from our IntellectualRadio.com weather center. Today, partly sunny, high 70 degrees. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low 50 degrees. Tomorrow, a few early showers with overcast skies later in the day, high 62 degrees. Tomorrow night, cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower here and there, low of 51 degrees. The rest of the week forecast looks like this. Wednesday, showers, high 60 degrees. Thursday, showers, high 63 degrees. And Friday, partly cloudy, high 53 degrees. The Drive at 5 is also part of the Monday Night Mogul with Straight No Chaser with Rhea Ray Harris at 6 p.m. Setting it off with John Stennis. I messed up on that one. Maze Says with Maze Jackson at 8 p.m. and Keeping It Real Estate with Harold Arnold at 3 p.m. One Sister to Another with Angela Johnson is on a new date and time at 10 a.m. and Monday Night Mingle Radio is back on Monday nights at 7 p.m. The Drive at 5 is also part of the fabulous 5 at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station. Today, my guest is the Democratic nominee for Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Please give a Drive at 5 welcome to Kim Foxx. Welcome to the Drive.
Thank you for having me.
Please give IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station your background.
Sure. So I am a native Chicagoan, grew up on the North Side. I am a lawyer by profession. I've served 3 years at the Cook County Public Guardian's Office representing kids in our foster care system. I spent 12 years as an assistant state's attorney here in Cook County representing victims of crime from everything from first-degree murder to rapes and everything in between. And then I spent 2.5 years working for the president of the county first as her deputy chief of staff, then as her chief of staff. And I was responsible for overseeing a $4 billion budget, largest single-site jail in the country, third largest healthcare system in the country, public healthcare system. And then I decided that I wanted to run for state's attorney to make a change in our criminal justice system to ensure fairness and justice for all.
Please define the role of Cook County State's Attorney, because a lot of people have a clue but don't have a clue about the position. Could you please define it for us?
Sure. So the state's attorney has a couple of functions. What most people know is the criminal justice function. So anytime a crime is committed in Cook County, so that's the city of Chicago and the surrounding suburbs, the state's attorney's job is to determine whether or not charges are going to be filed. So police make arrests, prosecutors, the state's attorney charges. So no felony case or anything that can get you in prison for more than a year can be filed without the approval of the state's attorney. So drugs, murder, hanging out, assault, battery, anything that you can be sentenced to more than a year in jail, it is the state's attorney's job to determine whether or not you'll be charged. Then they're responsible for proving in court your guilt. So the burden of proof lies with the state's attorney. Their job is to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed a crime. They also make sentencing recommendations. They make bond court recommendations. So truly, in terms of the criminal court system, they are the gatekeeper of justice, determining who comes in, what they come in for, and ultimately how long they stay. They also represent the county in a civil capacity. So civil means anything in which you can sue or be sued. So they are the lawyer for the county. So anytime someone hurts themselves on county property, if the sheriff's deputies, hurt someone in jail and then someone in jail sues, the state's attorney's office represents the county. They can also sue on behalf of the county. So if there's predatory lending that's happening in neighborhoods, the state's attorney's office can file suit on behalf of the citizens of Cook County. So there's the criminal element and then there's the civil element. But really in all aspects in which the county is a party, whether as a victim or just simply as the county, the state's attorney's office is their lawyer. So you're the people's lawyer.
Congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
Now, a lot of people think it's over, it's done with, but it's not over and done with, correct?
It's absolutely right.
What is your platform? Can you tell intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station, your platform, what you're running on for the
Yeah,
November
I'd
election?
be glad. It's the same platform I've been running on all along. And you're right. Let me clarify for folks. November 8th is the general election. So we won the primary. So I'm the Democratic nominee. That means that we now go up against the Republican challenger. And so my platform will remain the same. You know, we ran on a platform of making sure that our criminal justice system is fair and equitable for all. And that means making sure that when we decide what cases that we're prosecuting, we're doing them in a way that is consistent on the north side, south side, and west side. What we know is that there's been disproportionality in our jails. I've said many times 86% of the people in our jail are African American and Latino. 94% of the kids in our juvenile temporary detention center are African American and Latino. And what we know, what the data shows, is that crime and how we police neighborhoods of color are different than in other communities. And we're not equaling out in terms of how that looks. And so I want a criminal justice system where people of color feel they'll get a fair shake. So I'm running on that. I'm running on transparency and accountability. Show me the data. Show me why it is that we have such disproportionate contact in communities of color. And so making the data transparent so people can ask questions and hold me accountable. I'm running on a system that makes sure that our juvenile justice system is fair to children, that we're not criminalizing behavior that can be dealt with in the school system, that we're using our juvenile justice system to deal with discipline issues. I'm running on police accountability, making sure that when police officers infringe on the law and violate folks' rights, that they're held accountable for those. I'm running on making sure that our system is able to sustain itself by going after revenue that's owed to the county. Like I said, from a civil standpoint, we have a right to sue people who do bad things to the county, and making sure that we're doing that. I'm running making sure that we have a conviction integrity unit that really makes sure that people in our jails belong there. And if they don't, that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that people aren't held for crimes that they didn't commit. So those are the big ideas that I've been running on that I'm really excited about, changing the way we do criminal justice here in Cook County and making sure that the voices of those communities who've been left from the table are sitting at the table.
According to the Daily Beast, your former opponent, Anita Alvarez, have cleared a total of 68 Chicago police officers in regards to fatally shooting individuals. Majority are young African American males. Let's say in November you win. What are your first steps of earning the trust of the Black community who feels they have been wronged by the Chicago Police Department?
So I think first and foremost, you have to acknowledge that the problem exists. And what's happened in the past, I think, is an unwillingness to say that we have a problem with relation to communities of color, particularly to the African American community. The reason that I talk about the data, the numbers, when I say that it's 86% in our jails or 94% in our juvenile temporary detention center, is the acknowledgement that this isn't right, something is wrong. And I think communities need to know that the elected official who's in charge of that office acknowledges that, so that I can then put measures into place to deal with it. So the ways that I'm going to reestablish trust with the community is to always be honest. There's some hard truths that we have to talk about. I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to show you the data. I'm going to bring in folks to help us look at the data and show where the decision points are being made, where there are disparities, and we're going to address those disparities. And we're going to continue to be actively engaged with the community. It's not just Kim on the stump, during election season coming out to the neighborhoods. We need a real partnership with the communities that we serve. And so those are the first things that we need to do to start establishing that.
I'm glad you mentioned transparency. Transparency has been the word that's been using since the Laquan McDonald case. Transparency is also the mayor, Chicago Police Department, and lawmakers are using. However, in the Laquan McDonald case, the police officer, Jason Van Dyke, who fatally shot and killed Laquan McDonald, is allowed to skip his routine hearings for murder. People are saying if he was a regular citizen, a judge will not allow him to see the light of day. As state's attorney, will you readdress this issue of the police officer Van Dyke to go to court like some have him appear because they said it's a safety issue. He can go to court somewhere else, but he has to be physically present.
I think that issue finally got resolved. He has to come to every court date. His lawyers filed a motion saying that his safety was in jeopardy. The state's attorney's office filed I should say it hasn't been ruled on. The state's attorney's office filed a response that says that they can't set that precedent, that just because he feels that he's threatened, there are other people who come to court every day. They're victims of domestic violence who have to come to court. Their safety is an issue. There are people who are testifying in really dangerous cases, and their safety is an issue. And so the state's attorney's office has fought for him to come to court on every court date. I believe that the ruling has not yet come forth that says that he does not have to come to court. My suspicion is he will have to come to court every day. But it's my position, absolutely, that you have to have the same rules apply to everyone. And if it's a matter of they use the example of R. Kelly. R. Kelly came to every court date. He came through a different door. I don't think this is the same, that there are people gathering at every court date for Van Dyke. They've listed that in the motion as well, that in the last couple of court dates, there were not people waiting outside for him. But I don't think that's been dissolved yet.
There are a lot of questions.
Resolved.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No problem. There are a lot of questions and no answers to the Betty Jones and Quintonio murders by a Chicago police officer. The Chicago police officer admitted in regards to fatally shooting Betty Jones, and which was a mistake in killing her. In addition, according to several local news outlets, the officer lied or did not mention LeGrier swinging a bat until several days later on a police documentation. In either situation, why the police officer have not been charged yet? And if you are state's attorney, will you charge the officer because of numerous factual information?
So let me, I've been a lawyer for almost 20 years, and so I hate to sound like a lawyer when I give answers.
No problem. Put your lawyer hat on.
I got to put my lawyer hat on, because what we want is the prosecutor, in any case, who's going to look at all the evidence and be able to make sure that they talk to every witness, that they look at every document, that you look at forensics and ballistics and the like. So I can't be in a position right now, having just looked at the news and telling you what I would or would not do. What I can say is that we absolutely have to look at all the evidence, and we have to do it in a transparent and expeditious way. What happened with Laquan McDonald was that we waited over 400 days for the state's attorney to finally make a decision in that case. And it wasn't even just that it was 400 days. It was after a judge said, you have to release this video on Tuesday. And the charges were filed at 2:00 on Tuesday, and the video came out at 5:00. Now, we had a chance to look at it, and it was clear based on the video and the other evidence that Officer Van Dyke should have been charged. In the case of Betty Jones and Quintonio LeGrier, it is also clear that Betty Jones should not have been killed. It's also clear that something happened as it related to Quintonio, whether he's swinging the bat or not swinging the bat. The testimony has changed. And so you need to be able to examine who else saw it, what happened, because when you charge, you want to be able to convict. And so I can't tell you right now what charges I would file, because I've only seen it on the news just as you have. And what I can tell you is I'm committed to making sure that when people commit crimes, that they are held accountable for their crimes. I can't tell you what happened in this case yet, because I haven't looked at the evidence. But certainly once elected state's attorney, anytime anybody commits a crime in Cook County, my attorneys and myself included will evaluate the evidence and bring charges where appropriate.
I have a follow-up question to that. It has been known that the officer lied on documentation, police documentation. Will that be a charge right there?
So there's a couple things. One, there's a police contract that they have in which they can wait 24 hours before they give a statement to folks investigating a case. You and I don't have those same provisions. Doesn't seem fair. It's not fair. Two, so I don't know what document, whether it was a sworn document. If you lie on a sworn document, that's like if you raise your hand and take an oath, that's perjury. If what he wrote was his police report, which is a sworn document, then absolutely that can be considered perjury. I don't know what they're looking at in terms of what they're comparing it to or how long it's taken. But again, I will reiterate, because I don't ever feel comfortable saying just what I've seen off the news is what I would do as a prosecutor, because you would want me to look at all the evidence. If the evidence suggested that a police officer committed perjury, lied, altered documents, I would hold him accountable.
According to NBC5 Investigates, the city of Chicago will not release police reports on the fatal shooting of Warren Robertson 3 months before the now infamous Laquan McDonald shooting. The reason the city will not release the reports because they stated he was a juvenile. There are numerous cases like these that are dated, however unanswered. As state's attorney, will you call on the city to value their word of transparency to release these reports and others so families could get some answers?
So again, I'm committed to transparency. I think the way that you reestablish trust and have credibility in your office is to be transparent. I'm not familiar with the facts in that case, or the fact that he was a juvenile would somehow make that different than if it were an adult. I believe, again, that in order for us to do what we need to do to fight crime, we need the trust of the public. And so whether that's just the state's attorney's office or with the police, we all have to work together. And so I certainly would encourage the city and the suburban municipalities that are struggling with these issues to be as transparent as possible, and to do it in a way where your hand isn't forced. We shouldn't have to keep forcing people to do the right thing. That transparency should be a knee-jerk reaction, and we should err on the side of making sure that we give the public as much data as they deserve, that we do it without compromising our investigations, but that the public has a right to know.
The FOP contract expires in 2017. The city will have to renegotiate their contract. As state's attorney, would you ask city officials or even the mayor to be present in the room with these, to put provisions in place in the contract to allow, to allow what's been going on in the city currently in the contract so the police officers can be held accountable? What the FOP is saying is, look at the contract. It's in the contract. Right now, as we negotiate, would you like to be in a room? Could you ask city officials to be a part in that room if state's attorney?
So I gotta put my lawyer hat back on.
Sure, go right ahead.
I'm gonna just keep my lawyer hat on the whole time.
For me?
No, because I feel like I keep taking it off.
Okay.
So the FOP contract really presents a lot of issues in terms of transparency and accountability and how we go after these cases that have caused us a lot of concern. There needs to be a lot of work there. The city of Chicago is a separate governmental entity than the county of Cook, right? So who normally sits in those negotiations are city of Chicago lawyers. Cook County encompasses city of Chicago. It encompasses Broadview, Bellwood, Maywood, Westchester, Flossmoor. We have city of Chicago represents half of the county. The rest of the suburban districts represent the other half. The question that you have to ask yourself is, am I going to sit in all of the contract negotiations with all of the municipalities that have and my contracts? So it's a dynamic, the separation of governments and where my reach is, that I don't think allows me to sit in negotiations with the FOP. What I can say is to the city lawyers and to those who are engaged in those conversations, that these are the concerns in the best interest of administering justice for our county. Is we need to be able to interview people right away, that people shouldn't have the ability to confer with the partner before they talk to the state's attorney. Like, those are some big fundamental issues that we should absolutely make known to the people who negotiate these contracts. But as the county lawyer, not the city lawyer, and the fact that if I did that for CPD, one would expect that I would have to do that for all of the municipalities in Cook County. I don't think that we're in that position. But certainly the concerns with provisions of the contract can be made known. I think we can do that without sitting in the room.
Can that be changed so you will be able to sit in a room?
No, because again, we have levels of government. I am not part of The Chicago Police Department is under the auspices of the city of Chicago. The city of Chicago is a completely separate governmental entity, just like the state of Illinois is a separate governmental entity. I don't sit at the Illinois State Police. They have their own police force. I'm not in their FOP contract negotiations because the state is responsible for them. The county is responsible. We have the sheriff's police force falls under the county, and the county's offices are there representing the interests of the county. So we can't change it. If we changed it for the city, we'd have to change it for everyone. One, I don't think we have the capacity to do that. And two, I think we can still have the same measure of force by saying, listen, these are the concerns. These are things that impact justice. The contract impedes that and make that known. But we don't have the ability, because of the separation of powers and the separation of governments, to have the county sit at a city negotiation.
Some community leaders would like to see more African Americans to represent the state's attorney's office. If elected, will you have a diverse representation of African Americans, Latinos, that represent only us know our issues? Mm-hmm. And no offense, but you have a predominantly white state's attorney's office.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I've campaigned on is bringing in a chief diversity officer to make sure that the state's attorney's office is reflective of the communities that we serve. So if 86% of the people in our jail are Black and Latino, and 10% of our lawyers are African American, that's a problem. What's even more disturbing is that in positions of leadership, we have a handful of African Americans in leadership positions, people who can help you make the decisions whether or not to charge or not charge. There are only 2 African American men, 2 positions of attorney, office of 850 lawyers. That is abysmal. You cannot have an office that really understands the complexity of your county if they're not reflected in your leadership. So having a diversity officer who is intentional about making sure that from, the receptionists who come in to the attorneys, to the supervisors, to our community task force is reflective of the community is a top priority of mine. We cannot operate that office without making sure that it's diverse.
If state's attorney, could there be a legislation or a county or something governmental, police reports of police wrongdoings? A lot of people think there is a systemic problem government, especially when they go to levels or tiers of answers. One would say no, the other one would say yes. There's the backlog of that. As state's attorney, would you work with to put legislation? If something goes wrong, you have to put it out because promise transparency.
And I still promise it. Absolutely.
No, not you.
I'm still
not you. I'm talking about city government.
Yeah, I'm still. I think we need. Again, these are public officials, police officers, or public servants who have the ultimate level of responsibility and power because they can take a life. They can deny your freedom. They can deny your liberty. And so when we have people in positions who have that power, we need to be able to see what they're doing to make sure that harm is not coming to the community. So yes, measures for increased transparency in terms of those reports have to be done. I don't know if we need to go to the state legislature. I think we can do it on a city level, but whatever mechanism that it takes, I am for increased transparency. Again, it makes mine easier when I can assure the community that they will be able to see from top to bottom what it is that we're doing.
As promised, I know I promised your PR person there 20 minutes. So we're going to go.
You go.
Oh, okay. You heard that. As state's attorney, your goal is to advocate for women. Please explain.
I'm an advocate for
women. You explained that air.
Got it. Yes.
You
like,
told me to.
No. For state's attorney, my goal is to advocate on behalf of anybody who's been victims of crime. I've spent a lot of my career working as an advocate on behalf of women and children. It's an issue that's deeply personal to me. As someone who was raised by a single mom, my mother was a victim of domestic violence. I've talked openly about my own sexual assault as a child and the impact that those types of trauma have on young people in general, but from the perspective of being a girl, how that shaped my career. And what I find and what the data shows is that a lot of young people in our criminal justice system, in our juvenile justice system, have gone through some level of childhood trauma, particularly our girls. The studies have shown that 80% of the girls who end up in our criminal justice system have had some childhood sexual trauma in their life, whether it's an inappropriate touching all the way to a full-on assault. And so I have, as part of my campaign for running for this office, have been transparent about my own personal histories around sexual assault, around my own personal history with my family with domestic violence, so that we can advocate on dealing with these issues in young girls and women, to put them in a better position to avoid our criminal justice system and to have a system that is responsive to the needs of those who've been victimized, particularly in this way.
Now, you will be the keynote speaker, commencement speaker for the Illinois Humanities Project. Please tell us about it.
I am honored to be able to go out and speak about the issues related to our communities as a whole. I have yet to figure out what I'm going to say.
Well, you're looking at the wrong one if you're looking here.
I like to get a feel for what's happening. I tell people all the time, I try not to be as scripted as other elected officials have been. And it's both a blessing and a curse, right? Because people don't know what I'm going to say. But I'm usually driven by, the events that are happening that are current, and driven by the concerns that the organizations put forth. And so I'm looking forward to addressing this group. I'm looking forward to sharing my vision for, fairness and equality. And I'm honored that I was invited to speak.
Now, you are known, and I'm going to move over here because you're going to hit me. You are known to be the actual athlete, so to speak. And you love running, right?
I do love running.
And you told me that you haven't run. It was a passion of yours.
Yes.
So you saw some pictures of me running the Shamrock Shuffle.
Yes.
So I want to, lady.
Oh, see, you are moving over. Okay. I like to box too. You want
to next year's Shamrock Shuffle. Do we have a deal?
We have a deal. That's one of my,
Okay.
The Shamrock is one of my favorite races. It's fun. You get a lot of people out there with a lot of different skill sets. So I really feel like an athlete out at the Shamrock because it's different than the Chicago Marathon.
And it's less miles. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I'll do it. In fact, I told you that one of the frustrating parts about being on the campaign was I haven't been able to run like I used to. I used to run, and I used to keep a blog about my running.
Wow. And you're going to, after the campaign and stuff is over?
I'm going to start running again. I don't know about keeping up the blog. The blog was hard. It chronicled when I first trained for the marathon and balancing having a job, training for a marathon, and being a mom. So that was tough. But I think, as I said to you, running for me is very therapeutic. It's like doing yoga for some people. It clears my head. It's where I have my best thoughts. It's where I can really, really feel most at home, is panting on the sidewalk.
Okay. Tell IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station something we don't know about Kim Foxx.
My nickname, which is probably the nickname of a lot of Black girls who grew up in Cabrini, was Pooh.
Pooh.
Pooh. P-O-O-H.
Okay, Pooh.
If you call me
oh
Pooh,
no, I'm not sure.
If you call me Pooh out in these streets, which Derrick Rose's nickname is also Pooh. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know
It
that.
is. That's the only reason I'm sharing it. Because
how can someone get a hold of you?
They can reach out to me at kimfoxx.com, KIMFOXX.com. We still have the website up. Our office, our main office has shut down until the fall. But if they reach out there, there's a contact me email there. If they have questions, concerns, want to donate, have ideas, want me to come out and speak, they can catch me there.
All right. Don't be it. See, it wasn't that bad, right, Robert? No, not that bad. See, thank you so much for the drive.
Thank you. Let me say to you, thank you for your patience. You have, before Kim Foxx became a Kim Foxx name, you were like, I want to have you on the show. And that was before people were even talking about me in the campaign. And so I'm sorry it took me so long to get here, but I'm thankful to you for your persistence. And
Rhea Ray already had you. No, that's fine.
But you beat Rhea Ray first. You did ask me first. So okay. I'm grateful to you for having me come out, and I promise you I'll be back.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for the drive. And when we come back on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station, she's taking Chicago dance music to a whole new level. She's a 16-year-old R&B phenomenon. Please, when we come back, stay tuned on IntellectualRadio.com. And we're back on the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeartRadio station. To my left, she is taking Chicago dance music to a whole new level. She's a 16-year-old R&B phenomenon, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Please give a Drive at 5 welcome to Kiana, right?
Kiana.
Kiana. Well, I always get names wrong. Kiana, welcome to the Drive.
Thank you for having me.
Please give intellectualradio.com/iHeartRadio station your background.
Well, I'm 16 years old and currently an R&B and hip hop artist in Chicago, born and raised on Chicago's West Side. I was initially solely focused on dance, in which I have been involved in since age 5. And about age 10, I started to transition into music. I always knew that I wanted to have some sort of career in the music industry, but just didn't know how to find my way until about that age. I had a performance where I had to imitate Sierra, actually, lip singing while dancing, and that kind of gave me the confidence and motivation to really pursue the music career. My family is musically oriented, so it was always excuse me, it was always in me, but it just needed to be brought out in that light. So as I transitioned, it was difficult with me being building my confidence into truly embodying an artist. But as I grew older, now I'm 16, it's way different, and I'm ready to take the music industry by storm.
I guess you told me. As a young R&B artist, what inspired you to do music?
You know, I think dance, being involved in dance, dance goes hand in hand with music. So in order for you to truly be an artist or a dancer, you have to be spiritually or involved in music and the understand the representation of music and what it actually does and the influence that it has on people. So I think by being involved in dance first, it helped me to really be spiritually inspired to make music and create music and write music and find my voice. So I think that was my main influence, rather than me watching everyone that I've always been influenced by: Michael Jackson, Sierra, Janet Jackson, the greats. In which I look at people for different reasons, not really solely focused on one individual person that I want to be like or something. I like to take different things from different people to incorporate them into how I want to be as an artist eventually.
Some people say female R&B, just like the men R&B. The music is fading out. What do you think? Do you think R&B is fading out?
You know what? Right now, I think our youth is really into the dancing is a big part of music now. So as you listen to the radio, it's the hard beat knocking and different, like they call it the turn up music or something. Like, it's totally different. But a lot of people, especially my age, don't want to hear you really singing and giving them something to feel. They just want to dance, be at parties, and have that type of vibe. And I kind of think in our youth, it's kind of fading away a little bit. But the artists now that are the young artists now from Chicago and people all around that are trying to build a brand and name for themselves are bringing that back. Bryson Tiller, Kehlani, they're all trying to bring that soul into young music. And that's what my goals are too, to bring that soul back and to get the young people to really understand from. So I think I don't want to say it's fading away. It is in our youth, but it's not going anywhere. Absolutely.
No? You. How can you fit yourself into the so-called pool of Chicago artists?
You know what? I think my drive and motivation, just like the Chicago artists that I've been watching and listening to and following, is the same. We're all really hungry and eager to do what we love. But I think I am different in a way that I'm not a rapper. A lot of the Chicago artists are like rappers and have that background. But I think it's totally different when you're an R&B artist versus a rapper. Like it's a different avenue. And I want to not only just reach the kids, I want to be able to spread my message to people. So I'm very versatile in what I do and what I plan on doing in the future. So I think that separates me from different people out here, my versatility and the all of the things I could possibly do in the long run. So I'm thinking longevity wise, and that's a big deal.
Let's talk about this new single called Flexin'. What made you come up with Flexin'? Because I was thinking, that type of flexing. No, what is it?
It's called Flex a Little Bit, and basically the song it's about just having fun. I incorporated the dance aspect that everyone loves into the R&B. I'm still kind of singing in the song, which you get a taste of both different avenues. So it was really about having fun, and I wanted to come out with something like fresh, new, just really fun and get everyone involved in. A lot of the older people actually enjoy the song just as much as the youth does. So I think that was a big deal for me because, as I said before, that's one of my goal is to reach everyone. So that was a really big deal. And the song is really fun. I just really enjoy it and seeing everybody dance to it. It's just really nice.
Currently, Power 92 GCI is doing well,
Yes.
and where they can get your music.
You can reach my music on YouTube, Facebook, and on my website, Kiana Online, KIANA online.com. Facebook, my music page is Kiana Music, KIANA Music, MUSIC. And that's about it right now. YouTube, Kiana Spears, KIANA Spears, SPEARS. And that's about it.
Okay, so when we come back, you're gonna do some flexing. Flex a little bit, right?
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Don't be a stranger to the Drive at 5. When we
Thank
come
you so
back,
much.
we'll have more with Kiana. And we're back on the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeart radio station. She is the dancing sensation called Kiana, right?
Yes.
Okay, Kiana. She's going to do her most anticipated song called Flex a Little Bit, and it will also be on iTunes as well. So, Kiana, take us out. Thank you so much to Earl Winfrey, Rhea Ray, who is up next with the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com. Hold on, we're going to get the music straight right quick. Hold on. And there we go. Have a good week, everyone.
Do you wanna flex like me? Do you wanna floss like me? Do you wanna shine like me? You need to cry like me. We gon' flex a little bit, shine a little bit. We gon' dance a little bit, we gon' vibe a little bit. Watch me live a little bit, we gon' quan a little bit. Everybody wanna rock like me, flow like me. Able to me, what's up with it? I'm looking for something new. Let's get a 1-2 step on, boy. Show me what it do. I ain't been out in a minute, never been off over here. You be finessing, boy. You make girls turn. Shout out by the smooth. What up, son? Watch me do it. So rock from left to right, but watch me turn it up a little more. Old vibes just so. Bass beat and I feel a joke. Gon' let it beat some more. We gon' dance a little bit. We gon' vibe a little bit. Watch me whip a little bit. We gon' quan a little bit. Everybody wanna rock like me, flow like me, fuck it out like me, really rock like me. Heating up, party rockin', we gon' burn it up, yeah. DJ turn it up, we could turn up if you wanna. We just right here for the moment. Don't waste some time, you could be mine. Show me how much that you want it. You make baby girl be so honest. You so fly, boy, no need for front. I'm just out here trying to get it. You just don't know how I'm living. Nothing's ever easy or just living. We gon' dance a little bit, we gon' vibe a little bit. Watch me dance a little bit, we gon' quan a little bit. Everybody wanna rock like me, flow like me, walk it out like me, really rock like me.
I had to start with my hump. All the shorty be yum. I know she feelin' my dad, and she know I'm taking her back.